So the one area we haven't covered yet is the width of the stance. And I didn't include it in our 5 key fundamentals because I felt there's a lot of personal preference in the width of the stance. Obviously we want to maintain good balance and control of the club, but it's not like the long game where we've had a wide stance for our more dynamic shots and narrowing down as we come closer to the flagstick. So I want to deal with that now, and I want you to see why there's no set one width of stance for each player for each shot. We tend to accept that the longer, more dynamic clubs need the wider stance to give us the balance and control of the club. So we know that with a driver we would tend to position the ball opposite the inside of the left heel, and our stance would be at least shoulder width apart. And those feet would be progressively getting nearer as we played really the mid-irons. The ball would be moving back in the stance. But in the short game, the width of the stance, although it's a key factor, is not an ultimate one thing only. It's a very personal preference. And really at the end of the day, it's about good balance and good control of the club. So I would suggest that when we're looking at longer pitches, let's talk about pitches perhaps from 60 to 90 yards here, then the ball is likely to be just forward of the middle of the stance, and your width of stance is probably just inside your shoulder line. Now from that point on, as you get shorter shots, you're going to slowly narrow your stance. You're probably going to just open up the position so they're aiming a little bit left, and also your hips and knees. And that ball position again is going to be personal. It may vary a little dependent on the club you're using and the ball flight you're looking for, the type of outcome you want from the shot. So there's no exact width of stance for each shot, but there's an approximate. And if you think to yourself that the feet get a little nearer, or I like to term the heels of the feet get a little nearer. You can turn your toes out a little bit, that doesn't matter. But really the heels here, they're narrower for the shorter shots, slightly wider for the pitches, and then, as we said, for the longer pitch shots, you're back to something that looks a little bit more nearer to the mid-irons. So that should give you a little bit of advice on your short iron stance. But again, it's a personal preference, and it's tied in with your posture, weight distribution and balance.